Hello everyone, you are tuned in to Studio ATL and I am your host, Terri Danelle. On today's show, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in the Black community. And we have a guest in the studio today by the name of DIMAN. DIMAN, how are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
That's good. To open up the show, I want to ask you, how can we bring together the Black community to get our own brands out?
Thank you very much for your question. And I think before we answer this question, we probably want to look at what's our community made of, right? So if we look at the Black community, let's say, for example, in the inner city, it's not that we're 100% Black community because we have some Latino, we have some Asians, and some white. But if we look at the makeup of the Black community in the inner cities, we probably have families made up of mom and dad working with their kids. And then we also have other families, I'll say maybe where there's a single mom working, and another family where there's a single dad working. And most of the time these people have to work two full-time jobs, or a full-time job or a part-time job. And so when the kids are in school, after school, they are in the communities. Now, culturally, we don't promote entrepreneurship that much. So that's one of the issues that we have in the Black community. And the other challenge is that we are somehow individualistic. And you know, this is true whether we're in Africa or in the Caribbean and here in America. So I think the biggest problem is that we do not have a culture of entrepreneurship.
So what do you think we need to do to come up with a plan to go into the inner cities to help, you know, bring knowledge or help educate them on, you know, starting their own business and entrepreneurship?
So I believe if we talk about the culture of entrepreneurship, to bring out that culture of entrepreneurship, we've got to start with the family first.
Yeah,
right?
most definitely, yes.
So when we're at home, we have to find ways to talk about entrepreneurship. Now, I do understand that not everybody is going to become an entrepreneur, but we can teach even professionals. People will become nurses, doctors, singers, football players, to have that entrepreneurship mindset.
Right.
Because what that will do really, it will help out the time management skills, the thinking differently, you know, thinking innovatively, that discipline, you know, that drive. So that culture starts in the family, like I said. When we go to church, we have to continue.
Yes.
When we go to school, we have to continue with promoting entrepreneurship. And really, the way I look at entrepreneurship, it's vision, time management, discipline, perseverance, and being able to do these things continuously.
Yeah.
And as these skills are geared towards entrepreneurship, we can see that we can use them in our profession, in our churches. But so really, if we take these skills and promote entrepreneurship through those skills at home, in the community, at church, you know, at work, it will be a good start.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, how can we bring our youth in to teach them at a young age how to be entrepreneurs, how to start their own business? Because I know a lot of youth, if we bring them in, that would keep them out of trouble. So how can we bring our youth into becoming an entrepreneur?
You know, it's a very interesting point that you're bringing out. As you know, today with media, with music, you know, football, basketball. So it's sort of a lot of distractions. And the best way for us to really get their attention and to get them interested into entrepreneurship is to maybe tune in with what they do.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
How can we use basketball to teach these young people entrepreneurship? How do we use music to teach them entrepreneurship? So maybe we're not just going to take them into a class and take a module for entrepreneurship and start teaching them about entrepreneurship in class. Maybe we let them know that, hey, it's good to love basketball. It's good to love baseball. It's good to love, you know, music. It's good to love singing. And we actually empower them to continue excelling in what they do, but at the same time, after spending time doing what they love to do, maybe we can bring them back and say, look, it's good for you to become a football player, an entrepreneur, but you also need to have these skills so that if you made money as a football player, you know how to budget, you know how to to manage your finances, you know how to manage your time, you know how to discipline yourself, because all that's also part of entrepreneurship. So as we get interested in what they do and we get to know them, then we can incorporate our teaching method for entrepreneurship into a game or into an atmosphere that's what they do. That way they can enjoy learning about entrepreneurship.
Because I believe in going to see what the child like first. Oh, you like sports. Oh, you like music. Okay, good. I'm going to listen to your music. I'm going to look at your sports game. But then let me show you another way, too, that you can incorporate it. So I do believe that our youth should, we should go in and see what they like first. And then we should incorporate. Let me tell you something else that'll help go, hand in hand with that, too. So I agree with what you said.
No, it's very important for us because let's say, for example, if Terri has a problem, I can't just come in and try to help Terri solve her problem without knowing Terri.
Exactly, right.
And what may happen is that Terri may create this wall or this barrier between her and I. But if I try to understand Terri, where she comes from, I can now see, maybe I can present my advice or my help in a way that's going to be more beneficial to her. But if I come to give my advice to Terri from my own point of view, from maybe my own world, it may not be taken well, and Terri may lose interest. So that's why I totally agree with you. Diving into the world, kind of allowing them to feel comfortable with us, what they like, makes it so much easier.
Yeah, because we know with kids, they're going to be defiant. So if you come in with an approach and see what they like, it'll make it easier to incorporate stuff that you like. And that can help build that brand. Because all of us want to leave something for our children. So if we start them at a young age and teaching them how to be entrepreneurs and teaching them how investing. So that's my next question. Why is it so important to invest, especially people of color? Why should we look into invest in things and we should learn about stocks? So what is your advice on us getting into investing and buying stocks?
So, we're talking today about entrepreneurship. And we're talking about investment. But before we do that, I think it's important for us to define entrepreneurship. What is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is that ability that somebody has to create an opportunity, to have that discipline, to continue working in a well-planned manner and achieve that goal. But who do we call an entrepreneur or a businessman or a businesswoman? That's why we have to go back to the registration process of the company. Because people have ideas, people talk about business, but very few people take the steps to become true entrepreneur or true businessman or businesswomen. So the most important thing is registration. We live in the United States of America where there are laws, and each state has their own different laws. Now, the registration process for a business usually begins with the Secretary of State. In whichever state you are, there's a Secretary of State where you register your business. And you register your business in one or two different forms. It may be an LLC, it may be an S Corp, a C Corp, and so once you register that with the Secretary of State, you register that with the Secretary of State. The second step is to register with the IRS to get your EIN. Once you have your Secretary of State registration, your EIN with the IRS, And for people who do certain businesses that require licenses, like a car dealer, a cosmetologist, they require a certificate. So you have to get those. Once you get those, then you go to the bank and open a bank account. Now, when you've done those things, then legally we can consider you a businessman, a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. Now, the question was, why is it important for us to invest?
Yes.
So most of the time, in some families or in some communities, they tell people to go to school, but they don't tell them why they go to school. They just tell them, go to school and you'll get a good job.
Yeah.
Or they say, go to school and then you'll get stability. Or go to school because nobody in our family went to college. But we don't teach people to have a purpose.
So you saying that, do you feel like the black community lack knowledge?
No, it's not that we lack knowledge. It's just that, remember that Terri can only offer what she knows and who she
Absolutely.
is. DIMAN can only offer what he knows and what he is. So we all have been raised differently. Like I was saying, they told us, go to school, you get a degree, you get a good job. But they don't tell you why do you want to go to school, why do you want to study what you're studying. And keep in mind, Terri, you can start working in a field and let's say one day you have an accident, you cannot operate in that field, so you become disabled. That means there is nothing else you can do. But entrepreneurship, on the other hand, you may have a business, you may get disabled or debilitated, but if you have a structure that you've put in place where other people are working and continuing to produce, even though you're not able to work, but that can still give you an income. So we want to invest so we can become independent, so we can serve our families, and so that we can also do things for our communities. So it gives us the freedom to be able to do what we want to do and what we like to do for our families, for our communities. When we work a full-time job, we're limited because we are given a certain set of hours, we're given things that we have to do, and then after our work, we have to manage the rest of the time with our families, with ourselves. So I'd say working is a good, but I feel that it's limiting. Right. Whereas when we invest, we basically allow money to work for us. You could be a student. You have invested in stock. That money is working for you. You could be a student or a working professional. Right. You've invested in a company and you're a part owner. That means you have other stream of income. So investment and entrepreneurship allow us to diversify our portfolio and have different avenues for income for us.
Yes. Before we go any further, I would like for you to go over to Facebook and look up Studio ATL on Facebook, and then go over to YouTube and look up Studio ATL on YouTube. My next question, what do you think is the best industry for the black community to invest in?
Well, you know, it's a very good and interesting question, but I believe there are a lot of industries that you know, we can invest in. And I personally believe it's always good to invest in something that you believe in and something that you like. So for example, if I look at black women, today you've got beautiful braids, and by the way, you look so pretty today.
Thank you.
But you know that most of the people who make these braids are actually not black.
Yes.
These things are manufactured in India, in Korea, in China, and there is nothing wrong with that. But can we empower the black women to get into that business, and start selling that to their own people and enjoy the benefit of that? Food, we eat soul food, right? Collard greens, you know, sweet corn.
Yes.
Can we encourage more black people to go into farming? They can farm their own collard green, their own sweet corn. We have a lot of black people that need to learn about entrepreneurship. Can you have business coaches in our communities? We have a lot of football player, baseball player. Can we train more black agents?
Yeah.
And I believe in diversity, but I also believe that if we can allow all these different fields that we've spoken about to be able to take place in our community, we can also allow money to circulate in our community before it leaves our community. And we can develop. Because, we're talking about the inner cities today. What we realize is when we're in inner cities throughout the U.S. that are majority black, we still have a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
We have violence. We have the lack of education. We've got, neighborhoods that are in poor condition.
Yeah.
So all these challenges that we see in our black communities are actually business opportunities. And so when we look at the challenges that we face in the inner cities or in the mostly black communities, let's not look at those problems as problems, but rather as challenges.
Yes.
Because if we look at those issues as challenges, now it's like, okay, how can we solve that problem?
Yeah.
How can we solve that problem in a way that it will benefit our community and even the neighboring community? And how can we also be an advocate as we solve those problems? So you'll see that we're doing business and entrepreneurship in a sustainable way. So there are a lot of things that we can do in the black community or in the inner city based on the challenges that we have. I mentioned black ladies love their beauty, and we know they spend a lot. So how can they take a share of the beauty market? We know we eat. How can we take a share of agriculture, food production? We know we need personal development. How can we, again, gain more market share in business development, personal development, fitness? We can't talk about personal development without talking about exercise. Because another challenge that we have in our community is, things like, blood pressure, obesity.
Yes.
So, and all those are things that require discipline in a way we eat. We control what we eat. If we are going to talk about gym, going to the gym is difficult.
It is.
Especially when people get over 40 years of age, they have to teach themselves to have the discipline of going to the gym every morning or walking every day for 30 minutes. That's where a personal coach come in, a fitness trainer. And so, all these are beautiful business opportunities that we can use.
And also, we know that it takes money to start a business.
Yes.
So what is a good way to make money quick so you'll be able to have the funds to start your business?
So it's very interesting. Unfortunately, there's no quick way of making money. But the best thing is all of us can start where we are.
That's true.
I can promise you, Terri, that with $100 you can start something. With $1,000 you can start something.
I agree.
With $10,000 you can start something. The issue is sometimes we think, I've got to have a lot of money, or it takes this money. To start a business, it doesn't only take money. It takes a lot of other things.
Yeah.
It takes resilience, discipline, vision, organization.
And dedication.
And dedication.
Yes.
So when you look at all those things, money is just one factor. I can promise you, Terri, there are people that you can go to and give $100,000 today. They will never start a business. There are people that you can give $10. After 10 months, you'll see that they start a business. They'll take that $10 for 10 months and save it. Once they have that $10, in Georgia to register a business, it's about $100 with the Secretary of State. Once they have that $100, they go set up their business. They get the EIN with the IRS. They open a bank account. Or let's say if they were just getting $10 per month. After 10 months, they set up the company, they get the EIN, then they start on another journey. They start saving that $10 again for 10 months. After that 10 months, they have $100 to go open an account. But at that same time, if they were working, they continue to work.
Yeah.
If they were maybe, selling stuff, doing things, they continue what they are doing. But you see that after 20 months, now they have their $100 to open a bank account.
Yeah.
They open that. You see, that discipline, that courage, that resilience, that dedication is what business people need. And those type of people, the day that you give them $1,000, they'll be successful with $1,000.
Yes.
The day that you give them $2,000, they will always find ways to continue their journey. But those who tell you, oh, I wish I had money, I wish my parents were rich, oh, I need money, you can bring them $100,000. They'll go buy a brand new Mercedes. They'll go to Las Vegas, and then they come back and say, oh, I wish I have money for. So it's really not about the money, but rather the drive.
Right. So what would be the best way to market your own brand?
So the best way to market your own brand is actually to believe in it, first of all.
Absolutely.
Because if Terri has a line, it may be clothing and maybe beauty supply, and she loves it, and we know that because she wears those same things, and she put so much work into doing those beautiful things, and we can tell she wears those things every day, versus somebody else who maybe just make a cheap brand and go in the community and just sell it, but they never wear it, their kids never wear it. But if Terri can show that she loves her brand, she put a lot of effort into promoting her brand, and she actually embraces her own brand, and then there are several other things that people can do marketing-wise to try to promote that brand. But I believe one of the best things is actually you become your own ambassador of that brand. You become the first believer on that brand. If it's food, let's say you make, maybe you have a recipe from your grandma, but you've tasted that pie, you've made that pie yourself, you eat that pie, and you actually use good ingredient that you know you'll give to you and your kids, will be the same ingredient that you will actually make and sell in the community. That bring a lot of value to your brand. So I believe belief and actually investment into the brand brings so much value.
Yes, absolutely. I do believe that you should believe in yourself, because if you're going to put your brand out there, you should definitely believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, then everybody else will believe in you too. So our youth, what would be your best advice to come up with some kind of organization or something to get our youth into believing in themselves and doing something different with their life to get them on a path to entrepreneurship?
And I'm glad you bring that. I know you have two boys that you love very much. You're so close to them, and I also believe that the youth are our future.
Yes, they are.
As a community, as a nation, the youth are our future, and we really need to invest in them. And I think we initially talked about connecting with them.
Yes.
Knowing them. Because if we connect with our youth and know them, know their needs, it becomes so much easier for us. Let's say you have Dante or John, and they love basketball, but you can never get them to do anything other than basketball. It's good to encourage them to do their basketball, to become disciplined, to become excellent at basketball, to become excellent at everything that they do. But then we also have to show them, hey, Dante, John, you'll become a good basketball player. Once you start making money, you will need to know about finance.
Yes.
You're going to buy a house some days. You will need to know what it takes to build that house or to maintain it. So that's why we have to teach people other skills other than what they love. You may love basketball, but you do want to know about finance. You may want to know about management. You may want to know about this life experience. And it may also be true for a young lady that loves to braid hair or loves to do makeup, it's nice for us to encourage them to do that. But we know that when she braids hair or she does makeup, they have to pay her. Some days they may not be able to continue their work because of an accident or because of old age. But if they get interested in entrepreneurship, but for which they will have to learn all these skills that we've talked about other than their primary interest. So I believe making these youth understand why we want them to learn about these skills and why we want them to learn about entrepreneurship and what these things will do for them in life. And sometimes we don't have to talk about things that it will do for them in the future. It may just be down the line. And as they see that, we will see that they will start to gravitate more towards enjoying entrepreneurship. But as parents, we also have to get involved in their lives. Not just teaching them about these skills, but going to their games, giving them feedback, helping them. And these days there's something that's very easy, YouTube and Google. So if somebody is a goalie or is a quarterback, we can just watch videos, where a quarterback is learning or where a goalie is learning. But as we do that, sit down with them, show them interest, it actually helps them loving what we have to tell them and what we have to teach them.
Yes. To close out the show, what would be your advice to somebody that's struggling with getting their business off the ground and just thinking about giving it up?
Well, so the first easy thing for us to do is to ask that person, why do they want to give up? Why is their business struggling? Again, if we can identify the why the person wants to quit, the why the business is struggling, then we can find ways to correct if there was a mistake in, let's say, mismanagement. We can go back and help them that way. If they did not do things the right way to begin their business, maybe we can go back and actually do things the right way. So I would say the best thing will be identifying the reason why one wants to quit, or understanding the reason why the business has been stagnant or why the business has not given up. And then if we can identify the reasons, then we can give them advice. But in general, what I will say, most likely a true entrepreneur, whether it be a businessman or a businesswoman, they know why they got into that business. They have a reason. And sometimes there are challenges that sort of forces them to give up. And those challenges, regardless of what they are, how big they are, people should always remember to the reason they started their business. And the reason it's important for them to do what they did. And if they can do that, because if somebody cannot see the value in what they are doing and the reason they are doing what they are doing or why they are doing what they are doing, our advice may not be that helpful. So finding the reason, and again, connecting that person with their goals and their vision will always allow them to go further, in addition to identifying the problem and coming up with a plan that will allow them to to make sure that the problem is resolved and they are on a path to success.
Thank you for tuning in to Studio ATL. Don't forget to go over to Facebook and look up Studio ATL and like the page. Then go over to YouTube and check out Studio ATL. And thank you for our guest, DIMAN, for coming in and talking about entrepreneurship in the Black community. DIMAN, any closing remarks?
Well, in closing, I will just say, in personal development, there is a saying that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So what we have to do, we have to continue not only speaking about entrepreneurship in the Black community, but actually do things that will concretely help people see the value of entrepreneurship, allow people to see the value of investment, and it's a journey that we have to take on, and like I was sharing before, we always have to remember to connect with the people that we're doing something with. So in this case, if we're talking about promoting entrepreneurship in the Black community, and remember, each Black community is different. We have to connect to those communities, know those communities, and continue this journey. There are a lot of people that are doing it, and I still believe it's not enough. We need to empower more people to continue doing that, and especially the youth. I can never say enough the value of a community investing in its youth, because they are the future, and they will determine the survival of that community. So we have to keep on sharing our values, the knowledge that we've had, and try to promote, entrepreneurship in the Black community that way.
I hope you got something out of this informative interview. Don't forget to go like, share, comment on Studio ATL.